Hello and welcome back to me yet again doing something that I've never ever done in my life before, but we're gonna do it because cosplay is about learning how to do new skills. I have been cosplaying for quite a while now, and I got my very first cosplay wig in But anyways, I've had this wig for quite a while and I have never washed it. Disgusting! And the same can be said for every single other wig that I own. I have not washed any of them. I have not styled any of them. And I think it's time we change that. So let's get into it. So, for the wig washing and styling process, I'm primarily following a video from TikTok user uki.yo_, which I also cross-reference with a couple of other cosplay content creators' suggestions, and they all basically started with a small tub or bucket of hot bath temperature water and varying amounts of fabric softener that looked anywhere in the range of 2 to 5 tablespoons. I couldn't find anything that said the water shouldn't be tap water, but the water in my house is particularly calcium and iron rich, making it not the most friendly water in existence, which means I would have to boil water from my special drinking water filter, and enough water to make a decently warm bath to submerge all 6 of the wigs I was planning to wash. Also, in remembering I had 6 wigs to wash, I realized that my 5-gallon bin was not going to cut it, so I went off on an adventure to find a larger bin in which to wash my wigs, but not before facing a conundrum with my water dispenser that I face nearly every day.
If I leave, I'm gonna forget the water. And if I forget the water, then it'll spill. And I always make it spill. Okay, it's not going that fast. I can look. I will just think about it. Oh, actually, I do have that. This, like, laundry basket thing. Yeah. Yeah, dude. We're making wig soup tonight. Wig soup. The solution. Oh, my water. Oh! That was almost terrible, but luckily, it wasn't.
While I was waiting for all the water to boil, I did some minor detangling and also removing of any bobby pins, hair ties, tags, and whatnot else that might have been left in the wigs, either from how they came in the mail or as remnants of me wearing them or styling them. And I had to wait for the water to boil, but luckily you don't, and we can move straight into making the wig soup. And making wig soup is a pretty dangerous task.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fine.
I was in fact not fine. It did end up blistering and now I have a sizable mark on my foot. So, you know, don't pour boiling water on yourself, kiddos. It's not good. But back to the soup. Most of the people on the internet made individual wig soups, but I did not have 6 separate and also adequately sized vessels that were handy or clean. So we have our wig soup in a cauldron of sorts, I guess. People online only ever seem to be working on one wig at a time, and I was really worried that the colors would possibly leach out of the wigs and into each other, because I know that I buy cheap wigs. None of the colors seemed to leach out of the wigs that I had, but I'm not sure if that was a coincidence or if that's just how synthetic wigs work. I just don't want anybody to be mad at me in case they make their wig soup like mine and then everything gets destroyed. So online recommendations for how long to let the wigs soup is anywhere from 5 minutes to several hours. I decided to go the several hours route because I wasn't feeling particularly motivated to brush the wigs out immediately, but after about 2.5 hours I unsouped my wigs and headed upstairs to the room where I can put all my horrible, messy, and unfinished projects and nobody but everyone on the internet can see it. And thus began the hours of brushing these wigs out. I chose to brush them while they were still pretty wet from the wig soup. Some people online seemed to wait until they dried. Some people recommended brushing them while they were wet so they would lay flatter and dry more naturally. I ended up needing to brush and detangle them both before and after anyways. But having brushed them while they were wet, I personally didn't see a crazy amount of damage or unexpected hair loss. Whether or not this was good or bad, I have no conclusion. But now that I've established some wig lore and also talked talked about all the good parts of this project, this is where things start rapidly going downhill. And honestly, I feel like downhill does not even describe it enough. Things went downhill and then things continued to dig. Spoiler alert, I've never done wig styling before and it shows. And as someone who has the chronic, I have to be immediately at least respectably good at something, or else working on it becomes drudgery and I never want to pursue it again disease. It was a little bit painful knowing that I had pretty much spent my entire week on this project and I did not have time to make a backup video. So now I'm posting results that are only okie dokie to the internet. But I am acknowledging that the need to be automatically good at everything is a part of myself that I need to work on and is an unreasonable expectation of myself. So I'm going to try and approach this using my 4 years of college laboratory experience and pretend this was more of a research project and not a final exam. Whatever the results are, we're all going to learn together as one big happy research family. Okay, jump cut. Next day, I'm turning this wig from Merida to Ariel, straightening it with a hair straightener that is at a temperature between 266 and 302 degrees Fahrenheit or 130 and 150 degrees Celsius. Most people don't recommend going above 300 degrees Fahrenheit when it comes to wig styling. I found that my wigs were able to handle marginally more heat than 300 degrees for a very short amount of time, but I could also tell that that was very much pushing it, so I would not recommend. But let's address the more obvious question. Why didn't I buy a straight wig in the first place? I actually don't know. I thought that the curls would give me some extra texture, but then I realized partially straightening it and then styling that straight hair over the curly hair was not going to look as great as I was hoping it would. So yeah, we were just straightening the whole thing. And to be clear, this wig is going to be the primary subject of this video because it has the most drastic change from start to finish, and it also kind of hit all the different techniques I was trying to teach myself in wig styling. So the end goal for this wig is Thrud from God of War Ragnarok, and I ended up with something significantly less voluminous. And yeah, I guess this is a little sneak peek into the cosplays and costumes that I want to work on this year. I really want to try to make a conscious effort on having a head start to these cosplays. I've always been a very, very heavy procrastinator, but I'm really passionate about my costume building. I feel like I can make a lot more quality costuming and also take time to learn things if I'm not putting myself under such stressful time limits, hoping that I can get myself to actually start work without the looming dread of a hard deadline. But Thrud is a character I've wanted to try and cosplay ever since the game came out and I saw her. I really just want to make an effort to do cosplay right, with all the little details and colors and time and all these things. Unfortunately, this wig is not quite up to accuracy standards, at least not in my eyes. But then again, when it comes to wig styling, I probably should have picked a character with smaller hair to start with. Also, I'm very, very aware that this is not at all the right color. I think it's probably because I was thinking of Thor's hair color in God of War. Yeah, but jury's still out on whether or not I'm going to start over with a completely new wig later down the line. But I did manage to actually straighten the whole wig and it looks pretty nice. Also at this point, for some reason and not on camera, I added Thrud's iconic red streak in her hair. It was just a little weft that I took off of some hair extensions that I hot glued into the hairline of the wig cap. So after all that work of straightening, it was time to tease the hair and turn it into an even worse tangled mess than when I got it in the mail originally. For the record, this was not a mistake. Much like the short strands of hair in the hairline, I believe the goal is to kind of damage the hair to create micro textures that make more space between individual strands. Kind of like how when you whisk an egg white, the proteins all stretch out and encapsulate little air bubbles. Small hair plus texture and air equals big hair, and small egg white plus texture and air equals big egg foam. As I was saying before, I don't think I actually did this part wrong, and it helped quite a bit in terms of volume. However, I think if I wanted to get hair as big as Thrud has, I would have had to have a way to blow heat into the hair strands so that they would mold a little better to this textured shape. I did use a straightener on the teased hair to sort of add heat, but I think a hair dryer would have been a better method of reaching the roots, and making sure the roots are not flat seems very important to texture. Unfortunately, the closest thing I own to a hairdryer is an actual heat gun, which maybe it could have worked, but I would be worried about melting the wig. Another alternative I've seen for adding heat is a steamer. A lot of people say that this is better because dry heat is bad for wig styling anyways, and in hindsight I might have been able to use the steam setting on my iron to achieve this effect, but hindsight is 2020, I guess. But after getting all the volume teased into the wig, it was, for the third time to brush the wig out. This was a fantastic project for someone who was like, oh, I'll give my wrist a break from drawing by doing other projects for this channel. My wrist is never going to recover from this. But at least I got to catch up on some longer videos that I've been saving for background noise for bigger projects, and I sure hope that it makes some nice montage speed footage editing, Lady Split Chin. If you're planning on a lot of wig styling in your future, I would also definitely invest in a solid wig styling stand, because even if I upgraded from a hammer to a 20-pound weight, it would have been much nicer to have access from all sides and also any sort of reliable stability while I was ripping this wig to shreds repeatedly. Despite me not using as much heat as I should have, I do think it still added some volume, but to be honest, when it was teased, that was much closer to the actual volume I needed in order to be cosplay accurate. So this kind of leads me to two conclusions. Either I needed to have a lot more heat to get the fibers to stand up more, or I needed to add something physically to bump it up, either some kind of form under the hair or more hair. After reviewing my references and styling the hair for the first time, I decided to cut the hair, which was maybe not the best of the many poor decisions I made along this journey, but we're just full sending this wig styling learning experience. There's no turning back or hesitation allowed. Sru's hair is not choppy necessarily, but it does have a lot of fluffy sections and layers, which is maybe why I was kind of confident unnecessarily while cutting the hair. And yes, I am cutting the hair around the styled bits and pieces. This is another incredibly questionable decision on my part. Also, something that added an element of unexpected tediousness to this project was the styrofoam wig stand I was working on. So in order to counteract the thinness at the base of the wig, I decided to glue in wefts made from the cut hair, because I've watched a doll customization video or two. So on the back of a silicone mold, I put a blob of hot glue, added the hair, and then made these little spike sections that I could glue onto the wig cap. This was not very elegant of a process. I think it did help to cover up the bald spaces at the nape of my neck. I also did end up undoing and redoing the braids in the back of the hair to sit a little lower and look less tangled. And since I felt like I couldn't really do anything more to ruin it or make it better, I decided to just commit and glue the little leather straps into her hair, just so I could have a fun little reward at the end of all my disastrous process. It could have been worse. It could have been much worse, but it also could be better. It could be so much better. And for all that work of trying to salvage hair pieces, there was a lot of hair on the floor, which is probably where a lot of my wig volume went, but a lot of the cosplayers online said that hair coming off and a lot of hair coming off of the wig was very normal. Even if it is normal, it creates a nightmare of a sensory experience, and that's coming from someone who wears cosplays where body paint is foundational to the look. That is wig styling experience number 1, and we're gonna speed run the other 6 while I wear my cool wizard clothes to feel better about the fact that I spent hours and hours to end up with a result that I'm not exactly thrilled about. Moving on to easier waters, the wig for Jester Lavore from Critical Role and Io from my collection of D&D characters. I really like their wigs, and their wigs retain the curl pattern from before the Great Wig Soup of 2024, and no longer had makeup stains or smelled like Renaissance Festival in 90-degree weather, which is a success in my book. I did try to lift and trim the stray hair off the bangs on the blue wig because those definitely do always fall into my eyes, but for the most part I just brush these out. Wig number 4, the most problematic of favorites, Lenore from the Castlevania series. A dream cosplay of mine that I never believed I could do because I'm very self-conscious about cosplaying characters that I feel like I don't share strong physical features with. But isn't that just the thing about cosplay anyways? Being who you want to be, just having a nice time. I'm tired of limiting myself to my insecurities. This was a pretty easy wig fix. She has a little fancy loop in the back of her hair as well as a little clip, but I'll just have to solve that problem later. This wig does need to be brushed out frequently because the curls tangle super easily, and if I want to retain that soft look, I just need to brush it every single time that I wear it. Wig number 5, Pike Trickfoot, which was going to be another volumizing and styling video, but I ran out of the little clear rubber bands and was not exactly in the position of having time to buy more of those. So yet again, we are shelving any progress on Pike Trickfoot for another day. Although I did learn how hair extension clips work for the first time in my life, which I think takes away my being an early 2000s kid card, but that was pretty exciting, and adding those extensions helped with the thin spots in the wig a lot. Last but not least, the Fern Calloway wig. Also a journey because I do not know how to make curls with a flat iron. I know in theory, but I am really showing how little I style my own hair for having so gosh darned much of it. But that didn't matter anyways, because turns out synthetic wigs don't really hold a curl in the same way that human hair does. You actually have to hold the ringlet in shape while it cools down. So I was doing this weird pin curl situation. I'm not great at making ringlets, even so, but I am better than when I started. But this wig ended up not holding any of these curls. I should have kept them pinned up overnight, I think, and then added more hairspray than I already did, or some kind of gel maybe. But hey, with all 6 wigs done, it is time for the reveal. And now it's time for the Cosplay Closet Show, bringing you 6 wigs with 6 mediocre at best transformations. Let's see those wigs. First up, we have Jester. She is an oldie, but even more so, a goodie, a recurring cast member of the Cosplay Closet 3 years running. She's a work hard, play hard girly, but she was in desperate need of a hot, relaxing spa day. Look at her now. She retained the iconic curl and volume, but traded in the makeup stains and tangles for a softer and shinier look. We love her decision to stay true to herself. Jester is always working so hard to remain as a staple favorite in our show, and it doesn't look like she's getting voted off the island anytime soon. Next, we have Io, a more recent addition to the lineup. She may be new, but she has proven to be an invaluable asset to the team, being a complete showstopper in her debut. But let's exchange some of that 2023 Ren Fair dust for a shiny and tangle-free experience. Check out those gentle curls and the makeup-free hairline. You're as gorgeous as ever, Io. We are so glad you're still on the team. Next up, we have Pike, so filled with ambition, who joined the Cosplay Closet cast last year. Due to unfortunate events, this stunner's debut was cancelled. The producers of the show really did her dirty by putting her on the back burner for so long. Despite this, she's starting 2024 confidently, with a new set of hair extensions, really bolstering her personality. In an exclusive interview, she told us she has plans to reclaim that missed debut and turn herself into something magical. We're seeing a bright future for you, Pike, and I hope you can see it too with those bangs in your eyes. Our 4th girly is Fern. Though not as long-standing as Jester, Fern has met fame far and wide and has had her fair share of time in the spotlight at festivals. Her transformation also included a day at the spa, but unlike the other girls, she attempted a slightly more bold transformation, but unfortunately, I don't think the look held. Oh Fern, if only you realized the person fixing your hair was not a hairdresser at all. I sure hope you got a refund. But you still look great, honey. Don't lose hope yet. We close out this section with 2 brand new cast members of the Cosplay Closet, Thrude and Lenore. These twins undergo a crazy transformation. Lenore has traded in those springy curls for something a little softer. She still has a lot of volume, and it's going to take quite a bit of maintenance if she wants to stay as a permanent part of the cast. However, we think think this transformation is still quite stunning. And last, we have our current cast member, Thrud. Thrud has had the most dramatic transformation, experiencing a rough chop, a lot of straightening, and a new hairstyle with leather ties. But even after all that work, we wonder, will she still be able to make the cut on Closet Cosplay, or will she dramatically be replaced in a future episode? Only time will tell. But that has been the rundown on this season of Cosplay Closet. Well, we sure washed wigs. Yes, I'm wearing a wig again. My real hair is currently a disaster from putting on and off wigs, and I cannot stand looking at it in the viewfinder. My hair is longer. My hair is about as long as this wig, and it is giving rats. Rat tails. But speaking of disasters, you know what else was a disaster? Not this video, because I learned a whole lot, and I definitely am feeling more confident in trying the Thrud and Fern wig again. And also, I will definitely invest in a hairdryer or a steamer or something. And I mean, I've already talked about what went wrong and things like that. Fern did not hold a curl, and Thrud is just not big enough. But that's okay. My wigs are clean, and that's great. They really needed that anyways. And I may have a long way to go yet, but you know what? That's cosplay, baby. That's learning. That's growing. Speaking of growing, I have not just completely ignored the fact that we did hit 1,000 subscribers. Yay! Which is crazy. Thank you so much for supporting me doing all my silly little things. I am planning on doing a mushroom milestone for next week's video, and what I'm trying to do, I want to draw my milestone mushroom character and then draw 1,000 mushrooms around her. And if you want your mushroom to be a specific color, let me know, so I will do my best to incorporate that. But seriously, 1,000 subscribers is incredible. It is not a small accomplishment. I am incredibly thrilled. Being a YouTuber in terms of a sustainable career is not something I intended when I started this channel. It's not even something I dared to ever think about because, you know, I worry constantly that I'm getting my hopes up. I'm very much a knock on wood kind of person. What makes me think I'm special? What makes me think I'm different from the literally millions of other people who are trying to make a career out of something they love? Why am I supposed to be a lucky one? It has always felt very impossible, but reaching 1,000 subscribers is huge. It's half the work in being able to earn money while doing this. Like, I know turning that into a sustainable income is a whole different can of worms, and you know, I have a lot to say on it, but I should save it all for the mushroom milestone video, as well as getting emotional. But let's you know, for the time being, I wear wig. I think this wig turned out great. I'm actually glad it kept its curl pattern. I'm glad Jester kept her curl pattern. I really love how the Lenore hair came out. As for Pike, Thrud, and Fern, we were just gonna come back to that sometime. But a lot is coming up for me in the future, so we're going to have to put a hold on cosplay related items, unfortunately. But there will be a lot of art and maybe a couple smaller other projects, but who knows? Not me. Wow.